Welcome to this explainer on the 152nd Kentucky Oaks. I've got to say, I am just incredibly thrilled to be sitting down today to talk about this. I mean, we are looking at what was easily one of the most unpredictable, thrilling, and honestly, downright inspiring races of the entire racing calendar.
Oh, you and me both. Seriously, you look back at what happened under the lights at Churchill Downs, and it still kind of feels like a movie script. We had massive long shots making noise, heavy favorites fighting it out tooth and nail, and at the absolute center of it all, a horse who almost didn't even make it to the track, let alone the winner's circle.
Exactly. We are going to break down every single angle of this unbelievable story, really focusing in on this brilliant filly, always a runner, and that epic showdown she had against an absolutely stacked field.
So, here's how we're breaking it all down today. First up, the 2026 Kentucky Oaks itself. Then, we'll get into that remarkable comeback story. Third, we are going to break down the actual mechanics of the race. Fourth, the fun part, cashing those winning tickets. And finally, we'll look ahead and set up the massive Acorn Stakes rematch.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the 2026 Kentucky Oaks. Okay, so let's set the scene here. It's the first Friday in May. You've got over 100,000 people packed into Churchill Downs. The lights are shining down on that dirt track, and you have literally the best 3-year-old fillies in the world ready to go a grueling 1 mile and 1/8. The atmosphere is it's absolutely electric. Electric doesn't even begin to cover it, does it? The Kentucky Oaks is, for all intents and purposes, the Kentucky Derby for fillies. So the prestige on the line is immense. And coming into this race, the field was incredibly well matched. Now sure, there were a few late scratches that thinned things out just a tiny bit, but the tension? Palpable. Everyone was just buzzing, trying to figure out how the early pace would unfold. But the absolute story of the night, hands down, was always a runner. I mean, she broke from post 9, way out on the outside of the starting gate, and just completely stunned the field. She really did. And trained by the legendary Chad Brown, owned by Douglas Scharbauer and Three Chimneys Farm, she actually wasn't the horse generating the most public wagering interest all week. She was somewhat overlooked by the general public. But when those gates crashed open, she delivered a performance for the ages. And listen, starting from post 9, in a crowded field of top-tier athletes, that is no joke. You risk getting caught way out wide on the first turn, you risk getting shuffled all the way back into the dirt kickback, but she navigated it like a seasoned veteran, which, honestly, as we're about to see, is the wildest part of this whole narrative.
Which brings us perfectly right into Section 2, a remarkable comeback story.
Yeah, because to truly understand what Always a Runner just did at Churchill Downs, you have to understand the absolute gauntlet she went through just to get into the starting gate. Her path was anything but guaranteed. Not guaranteed at all. Look, most horses with her early medical history, they'd be lucky to just have a quiet career in basic, entry-level allowance races. To reach Grade 1 glory is practically unheard of. Right, so looking back at fall 2025, Always a Runner didn't even race as a 2-year-old. She contracted a really severe bout of pneumonia that legitimately put her entire racing career in jeopardy. It's terrifying for a young horse, just heartbreaking. But she fights through it, she recovers, and then she finally makes her career debut in February 2026 down at Tampa Bay Downs. And what does she do? She wins that race by a staggering 6.5 lengths. She just dominates, just blows them away. But then, she deals with another minor illness. It's like, come on. So she finally gets back on track in April to run in the Grade 3 Gazelle Stakes at Aqueduct. And in that race, she shows this unbelievable burst of late speed, this incredible turn of foot to win by 1.25 lengths. And then, boom, May 2026, she wins the Kentucky Oaks. It's just wild. From a near career-ending illness to an undefeated Grade 1 champion in the span of literally 4 months.
And to really grasp what her team went through, listen to this quote from her trainer, Chad Brown. He said, "She was in deep water last fall. Believe me, she overcame a lot."
Yeah, that deep water comment, that really puts it in perspective, doesn't it? We are talking about an animal that was literally fighting for her health. And here is the absolutely crucial point for everybody tuning in. The Kentucky Oaks was only the 3rd start of her entire career.
Just let that sink in for a second. 3 lifetime starts. Typically, most horses are going to run a handful of times at age 2 just to build up their foundation, get their bone density up, get some real race day experience. She bypassed all of that. She debuted in February and won the biggest race of her life on her 3rd try. Unbelievable.
Which makes the head-to-head matchup coming into this race so fascinating. On one hand, you had our eventual winner, Always a Runner. She's undefeated, 3 for 3, and basically running strictly on raw, untested, generational talent and heart after overcoming that pneumonia. Right. And then on the flip side, you have Meaning. Now, Meaning was the proven commodity here. She came into the Oaks with 5 career starts, 3 wins, and some serious graded stakes hardware.
I mean, she had already won some of the most prestigious races in the country, having just captured the Los Virginis and the Grade 2 Santa Anita Oaks.
Exactly. So Meaning had the experience, she had the foundation, and she had the tactical speed. It was this classic matchup, right? The battle-tested heavy hitter versus the undefeated prodigy making a massive leap in class.
So, let's move right along to Section 3, breaking down the race.
Now, going a mile and 1/8, that tests both speed and stamina, and strategy is absolutely everything here. The pace scenario that developed actually ended up being exactly what Always a Runner needed, but it still required an absolute masterclass in navigating traffic.
Oh, for sure. So here's how it actually unfolded, step by step. Step 1. Explorer takes the early lead and sets a very solid pace. We're talking quick splits here, 23.08 seconds for the quarter mile and 46.85 for the half. That is definitely moving.
It is, and then step 2. While Explorer is cooking up front, jockey Jose L. Ortiz is being incredibly patient on Always a Runner. He just tucks her in around 8th place, riding in the 2 paths, so just 1 lane off the rail down the backstretch. He's just biding his time, saving all her energy.
Then comes step 3, which was really the magic move of the race. As they hit the far turn, all those horses in front start to make their moves, creating this kind of wall of traffic. But Ortiz sees an opening. He angles her 4, maybe 5 paths wide, sweeping to the far outside to find clear air as they straighten out for home, completely keeping her out of trouble.
And step 4, she hits that clear air and she just surges. I mean, she tracks down the tiring Explorer, holds off a really hard charging Meaning, and pulls away for a decisive 1 1/4 length victory.
Stopping the clock at a brilliant 1:48.82.
And let me tell you, that time is no joke for a 3-year-old filly going a mile and 1/8. She actually earned a 94 Beyer speed figure for that effort, which, for those who might not know, is a standardized metric used to measure a horse's overall performance. Meaning earned a 92 right behind her, so both ran huge races. They really did.
And remember how we talked about Always Runner's illnesses earlier? Trainer Chad Brown actually noted that he felt this was the very first race of her entire career where she was 100% healthy. He actually said that in her previous stakes win, he felt she was only at about 70%.
Wow. That is a terrifying thought for the rest of this division. If that was her at 100%, watch out. Let's run through the official order of finish real quick. So, Always a Runner obviously takes the crown. Meaning runs a phenomenally gutsy race for second. She got the first run at the leaders, but just got outkicked at the very end.
Yep. And then in third, we had Counting Stars. Trained by Mark Cassie, she actually had a really tough trip. She got a bit intimidated down inside the pack, but once she finally got out late, she rallied really hard along the rail to grab that third spot.
Explorer managed to hold on for 4th after setting that really hot early pace, which is impressive. And Prom Queen, who was completely out the back early on, swung 5 wide to close late and grab 5th place.
Okay, moving into one of my favorite topics, Section 4, cashing winning tickets.
Because look, watching a great race is incredibly fun, but having the winning numbers in your pocket, that makes it unforgettable. And this race produced some absolutely staggering payouts, because the betting public didn't quite have a firm read on how those late scratches would change the race dynamics.
We definitely have to start with this number right here, 5-1. That was the final post-time odds for Always a Runner, which is just amazing value. Because earlier in the week, her morning line odds, the track's early prediction, were sitting way up at 10-1.
Right. The smart money clearly saw her potential and bet her down a bit, but catching a 5-1 winner in the Oaks who is completely undefeated, that catches a whole lot of casual bettors totally off guard. Let's walk through exactly how this exotic betting worked out. The $2 exacta, so that's picking the first 2 horses in order, Always a Runner and Meaning, the 9-5 combination, that paid out a very respectable $97.58. Not bad at all. And if you added Counting Stars in there for the 50-cent trifecta, the 9-5-4 combo, you walked away with almost $194. But look at the superfecta, a $1 bet. You had to correctly predict the top 4 in order. Adding the early pace setter Explorer in 4th place turned a single $1 bet into $1,845.74.
Just wild. But if you thought that was big, check out this next number, $7,493.29. Unbelievable. Just incredible. That is the payout for a $1 super high five ticket. You had to pick the top 5 finishers in exact order. So that's Always a Runner, Meaning, Counting Stars, Explorer, and then somehow trusting Prom Queen to close from the clouds to grab 5th place. If you held that 9541110 ticket, you had a very, very profitable Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. I love seeing payouts like that, but we've got to look to the future, so let's move into Section 5, the Acorn Stakes rematch.
Because here's the thing, these horses came out of the Oaks in great shape, and we are now staring down the barrel of an epic rematch. That is the true beauty of the three-year-old racing calendar. The Kentucky Oaks is obviously the pinnacle of the spring, but the summer racing season offers massive Grade 1 opportunities to settle the score.
And the sequel is officially booked, folks. The Grade 1 DraftKings Acorn Stakes on Friday, June 5th.
Now, normally the Acorn is run at Belmont Park, but due to renovations happening there, the entire Belmont Stakes Racing Festival is happening at the historic Saratoga Racecourse this year.
Exactly. And it's going to be run at 1 1/8 around 2 turns, which is the exact same distance as the Kentucky Oaks. So we are getting a true apples-to-apples rematch at literally one of the most famous tracks in the entire world.
And let me tell you, Always a Runner is training like an absolute monster leading up to it. Chad Brown watched her work a solo half-mile in a blistering 48.78 seconds at Saratoga and gave us this amazing quote. He said, "She definitely breathes different air, this horse." Breathes different air? I mean, coming from Chad Brown, who has trained some of the greatest turf and dirt fillies in modern history, that is incredibly high praise. He noted she just flew home in that workout without even being asked to run. The scary thought is that with only 3 races under her belt, her ceiling might actually be significantly higher than what we even saw in Kentucky.
Yeah, but you definitely cannot count out the runner-up here. Trainer Michael McCarthy had this to say about Meaning after the Oaks. "She looked happy. She looked proud of herself. Her trainer was proud of her." I really love that quote. It just shows they know they ran a winning race, they just got beat by a freakish performance that day. Meaning actually worked a half-mile in 49 seconds flat at Churchill Downs recently, proving she is holding her elite form. McCarthy said they immediately drew a soft circle around the Acorn for her chance at absolute redemption.
So let's look at this stacked rematch field preparing for Saratoga. Now it's a much smaller field than the Oaks, which completely changes the tactical approach for everyone. You have Always a Runner putting her flawless, undefeated record on the line. Yep, and you have Meaning, the gutsy runner-up who might try to get the jump on the field again early on. You've got Counting Stars, who Mark Casse praises as a highly adaptable stalker, meaning if there's no early speed in the race, she actually has the gas to take the lead herself. Right, and then you have Prom Queen, who won the Gulfstream Park Oaks earlier this year, looking to bounce back from that 5th-place finish. In a small field like this, traffic isn't going to be an issue, so it's really going to come down to pure, unadulterated talent and who gets the perfect trip. Which leads us to the final burning question of the day. Who takes the Acorn? Does Always a Runner prove that her Kentucky Oaks win was just the very beginning of a legendary, undefeated season? Or does Meaning, with her tactical speed and that deep-graded stakes experience, turn the tables in upstate New York and get her ultimate revenge? It's exactly the kind of high-stakes sports drama you just cannot manufacture. The stage is completely set for June 5th, and we absolutely cannot wait to see how this next chapter of racing history unfolds. Thank you all so much for joining us on this explainer. Keep your eyes locked on Saratoga, and we'll see you next time.